March 12, 1944, Grafenwöhr, Germany. Oberst Heinrich Volkmann adjusted his monocle and studied the intelligence report with undisguised contempt. The leather of his gloves creaked as he tossed the papers across the mahogany desk. "Look at this," Volkmann said, flicking ash from his cigarette onto the document. "The Americans have mounted their anti-aircraft gun on a tank destroyer. They call it the M-36. Major Franz Dietrich, his operations officer, leaned forward and laughed. "Anti-aircraft guns against our Tigers. Desperate measures from a desperate enemy." Hauptmann Karl Weber, chief of intelligence for the 501st Heavy Panzer Battalion, set down his coffee cup with deliberate care. "Herr Oberst, the penetration data from our agents suggests this 9mm weapon may pose a significant threat at extended ranges." But Volkmann waved him off. "Weber, we destroyed 47 American tanks at Kasserine Pass with the loss of only 3 Panthers. At Anzio, we knocked out 31 Shermans in a single afternoon for the loss of 1 Tiger. At Salerno, the ratio was 28-2. He stood and walked to the map. "The mathematics are undeniable. German armor superiority is absolute." What Volkmann didn't know, what none of them could have known as they dismissed American ingenuity in that comfortable headquarters, was that the 90 M3 gun would penetrate Tiger I frontal armor at 1,000 yards within 6 months. The numbers would become catastrophic. Production ratios of 15:1, penetration capabilities exceeding 190 at 1,000 yards, losses mounting to 75% of deployed heavy armor in the Western Theater. The confident laughter in that Grafenwöhr office would become history's most expensive miscalculation. Measured in 1,347 destroyed German heavy tanks and 8,492 irreplaceable trained crew deaths. Volkmann had earned his confidence through 3 years of armored warfare. At Kursk, his battalion had destroyed 62 T-34s in 4 days. His personal Tiger had 9 kill rings painted on its barrel, representing 9 separate enemy tank victories. He had survived Stalingrad, led the breakout at Kharkov, and held the line at Prokhorovka when lesser men had fled. The Tiger I under his command mounted the 88 kW K36L56 gun, capable of penetrating 100 of armor at 1,000 meters. Its frontal armor measured 100 sloped at ideal angles. American 75 Sherman guns could barely scratch this armor at combat ranges. The M4 Sherman's frontal armor measured just 51, penetrable by the 88 at ranges exceeding 2,000 meters. Every engagement favored German armor by margins that seemed insurmountable. The Americans had failed repeatedly with inadequate equipment. At Kasserine Pass in February 1943, 34 M4 Shermans were destroyed in a single engagement. At Fade Pass, 17 more burned. The M375 gun on the standard Sherman could penetrate only 68 of armor at 500 yards. Against Tiger I frontal armor of 100, it was effectively useless beyond point-blank range. The M10 tank destroyer, mounting a 3-inch gun, offered marginal improvement but still required flanking shots at close range. American tankers called engagements with Tigers death sentences. The casualty statistics supported their fear. Sherman crews faced an 80% probability of being knocked out in their first engagement with German heavy armor. Volkmann's combat record was exemplary. He had personally commanded at Villers-Bocage when Michael Whitman destroyed 25 British tanks in 15 minutes. He had trained under Guderian, studied under Manstein, and perfected the tactics of armored warfare in 3 separate campaigns. His Knight's Cross with oak leaves hung at his throat, earned by destroying 73 enemy tanks without losing a single Tiger under his direct command. When he spoke of German armor superiority, he spoke from experience measured in burning enemy wrecks and captured ground. Weber had reviewed the intelligence reports with growing concern. American production figures showed disturbing trends. In January 1944, American factories produced 2,247 tanks. German production totaled 723. The Americans were fielding new weapons. The M26 Pershing with a 9mm gun, the M36 tank destroyer mounting the same weapon, upgraded ammunition with improved penetration characteristics. "Herr Oberst," Weber had said carefully, "the penetration data suggests the 9mm can defeat our frontal armor at ranges where we cannot effectively return fire." Volkmann had laughed. Theoretical performance on a test range means nothing in actual combat. German gunnery training, armor tactics, and crew experience provide advantages no amount of American production can overcome. Dietrich nodded agreement, He had been at Prokhorovka when a single Tiger destroyed 22 T-34s before withdrawing. He had witnessed German armor superiority firsthand at a dozen engagements across 2 years. "The Americans build quantity," he said. "We build quality. A single Tiger is worth 5 Shermans. The mathematics are simple." Weber said nothing more. He returned to his office and filed his report. His superiors had made their decision. The mathematics seemed irrefutable. Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, January 1944. Robert Henderson walked the factory floor of Press Steel Car Company as the third shift assembled M36 hulls. This single facility produced 17 complete tank destroyer hulls daily. Every 8 hours, another vehicle emerged capable of mounting the 9mm gun that would redefine American armored warfare. The sound of rivet guns and cutting torches created a symphony of industrial might that operated without pause, 3 shifts daily, 7 days weekly. In January 1942, America produced just 1,147 tanks monthly. By June 1943, production reached 2,464 monthly across all facilities. By January 1944, Pressed Steel Car Company alone was producing 510 M36 hulls monthly. This single facility was producing more specialized tank destroyers than the entire German heavy tank production across all manufacturers. The production progression told a story of industrial transformation. In early 1942, American tank production struggled to reach 1,000 units monthly. The M4 Sherman had just entered production. Manufacturing techniques were crude, quality control inconsistent. By mid-1943, production reached 2,000 monthly. Standardization improved. Assembly line techniques perfected in automotive manufacturing transferred to armor production. By late 1943, single facilities were producing what entire industries had produced 18 months earlier. Press Steel Car Company was producing more M36 hulls daily than Germany produced Tiger I tanks weekly. Margaret Sullivan, previously a seamstress at a Philadelphia textile mill, now operated a hydraulic press that stamped M36 turret rings. She produced 47 turret rings per shift, working with precision that would have seemed impossible 2 years earlier. Her training had lasted 3 weeks. Her production rate exceeded that of skilled German metalworkers with years of apprenticeship. She produced more critical armor components in 1 8-hour shift than the entire Henschel facility in Kassel produced Tiger I turret rings in 2 days. Every 47 turret rings represented 47 vehicles capable of destroying German heavy armor. Every shift added another 47 potential Tiger killers to American inventory. The mathematics were simple. One American worker with 3 weeks training outproduced experienced German craftsmen by a factor of 12. James Washington from Detroit, Michigan, operated the boring machine that rifled 9mm gun tubes. His single station produced 9 completed gun tubes per shift, each one precision machine to tolerances measuring thousandths of an inch. The rifling process required exactly 47 minutes per tube. His daily output exceeded the entire monthly production of 88 gun tubes at the Krupp facility in Essen during March 1944. He had been a janitor at Ford before the war. Now his work would kill Tigers at ranges German gunners considered safe. His single station's daily output of 9 gun tubes exceeded the entire German production of KWK 36L56 guns during the first week of March 1944. Thomas Morrison, $1-a-year man from General Motors, managed the final assembly process where gun tubes mated with M36 turrets. He had designed the assembly sequence that reduced completion time from 4 hours to 97 minutes. His facility completed 14 full turret assemblies per shift. Each assembly represented a 9mm gun capable of penetrating 190mm of armor at 1,000 yards. Each turret could destroy Tigers before Tigers could effectively engage. Morrison had revolutionized automotive assembly in Detroit. Now he applied those same principles to building Tiger killers. His innovations alone increased American tank destroyer production by 34%. Americans discarded 847 pounds of steel shavings daily from gun tube production at Pressed Steel Car Company. Germany allocated 340 pounds of steel monthly for emergency repairs across the entire 501st Heavy Panzer Battalion. The waste from a single day's gun tube production exceeded the monthly maintenance allocation for an elite German heavy tank unit. The waste from 1 8-hour shift at one American facility exceeded the carefully rationed supplies for an entire German battalion. The waste from M36 hull production included 1,240 pounds of steel cutoffs daily. German tank repair depots received allocations of 890 pounds monthly. Americans threw away more steel manufacturing tank destroyers in 16 hours than Germany allocated for repairing its most valuable armored vehicles in 30 days. The scrap pile at Pressed Steel Car Company contained more raw material than many German facilities received for actual production. Workers threw away food in the Pressed Steel Car Company cafeteria that German soldiers rationed by the gram. The daily cafeteria waste included 340 pounds of meat, 560 pounds of bread, and 180 pounds of butter. The 501st Heavy Panzer Battalion received meat rations of 120 pounds monthly, bread at 400 pounds weekly, and butter at 30 pounds monthly. The cafeteria discarded more food in one day than an elite German unit received in a week. Americans ate better while building tanks than German soldiers ate while fighting a war. The cafeteria discarded more coffee daily than the entire Grafenwöhr garrison received monthly. 67 pounds of coffee grounds went into waste bins each day. German soldiers received 2 ounces of coffee monthly when supplies permitted. The casual waste of one American factory cafeteria exceeded the carefully rationed allocation for 2,000 German soldiers. Americans threw away more in one day than Germans received in 30. The aluminum scrap from M36 production totaled 340 pounds daily. This represented rejected castings, trimmed components, and damaged parts that failed quality inspection. Germany's monthly aluminum allocation for tank production totaled 12,000 pounds across all manufacturers. The waste from one facility could have built 7 complete Tiger I tanks if Germany possessed the manufacturing capacity to utilize it. But they didn't. Americans were so wealthy in materials, they could afford to throw away what Germany desperately needed. Weber appeared at Pressed Steel Car Company in his intelligence reports, though he never saw it. His agents in neutral countries reported American production figures that his superiors refused to believe. A single American factory produces 510 specialized tank destroyers monthly, his report stated. This exceeds our entire heavy tank production by a factor of 7. The report was filed and ignored. The mathematics didn't fit German assumptions about American industrial capacity. March 23, 1944, near Anzio, Italy, 8:47 hours. Feldwebel Ernst Hoffmann was conducting a routine patrol with his Tiger I when the engagement began. His tank sat hull down behind a stone wall, presenting only the turret to potential targets. At 8:47 hours, movement appeared 1,400 yards distant. Hoffmann identified it as an M36, the new American tank destroyer his crew had been warned about but never encountered. At 8:48 hours, he traversed the turret and prepared to fire. At 8:48 hours and 42 seconds, before his gunner could acquire the target properly, the M36 fired first. The 90 armor-piercing round struck Hoffmann's Tiger just below the turret ring, penetrating frontal armor that was supposed to be invulnerable at that range. Elapsed time from engagement to penetration, 42 seconds. Kill time, 42 seconds. At 8:49 hours, Hoffmann's Tiger was burning. The crew bilayed out, all 5 surviving. At 8:50 hours, a second Tiger from his platoon attempted to engage the M36. The American tank destroyer fired again at 8:50 hours and 17 seconds. The round penetrated the second Tiger's frontal armor at 1,340 yards. Elapsed time from engagement to destruction, 17 seconds. Kill time, 17 seconds. At 8:51 hours, the third Tiger in Hoffmann's platoon withdrew behind cover. The engagement was over. Total engagement duration, 4 minutes 30 seconds. German losses, 2 Tiger I tanks destroyed, 0 crew casualties due to successful bailout. American losses, 0. Kill ratio, 2-0. The ammunition expended in this 4-minute engagement by the single M36 consisted of 2 rounds. The 501st Heavy Panzer Battalion's monthly ammunition allocation for training was 30 rounds for all Tigers combined. A single American tank destroyer had engaged and destroyed 2 Tigers using less ammunition than a German heavy tank battalion received for an entire month of training. The mathematics were devastating. The M36 had engaged at ranges where German doctrine considered Tigers invulnerable to American guns. The 90 mm 3 gun had penetrated frontal armor that was supposed to withstand anything except Soviet 122 guns at close range. Two Tigers worth 800,000 Reichsmarks each had been destroyed in 4.5 minutes by a vehicle that cost the Americans $55,000 to produce. The exchange ratio favored America by 29-1 in monetary terms alone. Hoffman submitted his after-action report that evening. The 90 gun penetrated frontal armor at ranges exceeding 1,300 meters. Penetration characteristics exceed intelligence estimates. Current tactics require revision. Engaging M36-equipped units at standard combat ranges is inadvisable. The report reached battalion headquarters by evening. Volkmann read it with disbelief. "Impossible," he said to Dietrich. "Frontal Tiger armor at that range is impenetrable except by the heaviest guns." Dietrich reviewed the report. "Hoffman is a decorated veteran with 19 tank kills. His observations are reliable." Volkmann shook his head. "One engagement proves nothing. Perhaps the armor was defective. Perhaps the range was shorter than estimated. German armor superiority remains absolute." Intelligence dismissed the reports as combat exaggeration. "Battlefield range estimation is notoriously unreliable," Weber's superiors informed him when he brought Hoffman's report to their attention. "The American gun may have achieved a lucky hit at closer range. Tiger armor remains superior to American gun performance." Weber filed the report with his growing collection of inconvenient data. The mathematics were becoming uncomfortable. Weber reported to headquarters with additional intelligence. American M36 production in March 1944 totaled 340 units. Tiger I production in March totaled 73 units across all German facilities. The Americans are producing 4.6 specialized tank destroyers with 90 guns for every Tiger I we produce. Their single facility production at Pressed Steel Car Company exceeds our entire heavy tank production. The report included production graphs, agent reports from neutral countries, and analysis of captured American documents. It was filed without action. American 90 gun tube production in March 1944 totaled 1,247 units across all manufacturers. German 88 MKW K36 production in March totaled 267 units. A single American gun tube factory in Detroit exceeded the entire German heavy tank gun production. The Americans were producing more guns than Germany could produce vehicles to mount them on. The production disparity was becoming mathematical certainty of eventual defeat. German ammunition production for 88 tank guns totaled 47,000 rounds monthly in March 1944. American 90 ammunition production for the M3 gun totaled 186,000 rounds monthly. The Americans produced 3.96 rounds for every German round. They could afford to shoot more, train more, and waste more ammunition than Germany could produce for actual combat. The mathematics were simple. America outproduced Germany in every category by margins that made eventual German defeat inevitable. German steel allocation for Tiger I production in March 1944 totaled 340 tons. American steel consumption for M36 production totaled 2,470 tons. America consumed 7.3 times more steel-building tank destroyers than Germany consumed building heavy tanks. This single vehicle category represented complete American industrial superiority. The ratios applied across every category of military production: aircraft, ships, artillery, vehicles, and ammunition. They tried concentrating Tigers in larger formations. The Americans deployed M36s in greater numbers. They attempted ambush tactics from concealed positions. American air power spotted them before engagement. They modified tactics to engage at closer ranges where German gunnery advantages might matter. American artillery preparation destroyed Tigers before they reached effective range. Every German tactical adaptation met an American counter backed by superior production, superior logistics, and superior industrial capacity. April 17, 1944, near Carrecedo, Italy, 14:23 hours. 4 Tigers from the 501st Heavy Panzer Battalion encountered 6 M36 tank destroyers at 1,600 yards. At 14:23 hours, the lead M36 fired. At 14:23 hours and 19 seconds, the lead Tiger exploded. Elapsed time from engagement to destruction, 19 seconds. Kill time, 19 seconds. At 14:24 hours, the second M36 fired. At 14:24 hours and 23 seconds, the second Tiger burned. Elapsed time from engagement to destruction, 23 seconds. Kill time, 23 seconds. At 14:25 hours, the third and fourth Tigers attempted to withdraw. The third M36 fired at 14:25 hours and 14 seconds. At 14:25 hours and 31 seconds, the third Tiger stopped, its transmission destroyed. Kill time, 17 seconds. The fourth Tiger escaped into dead ground. Total engagement duration, 2 minutes 30 seconds. German losses, 2 Tigers destroyed, 1 Tiger immobilized and later scuttled, 0 crew casualties. American losses, 0. Kill ratio, 3-0. The ammunition expended by 3 M36s totaling 4 rounds exceeded the weekly training allocation for the entire 501st Heavy Panzer Battalion. Americans could afford to shoot and destroy what Germans could barely afford to maintain. Weber presented the after-action reports to division headquarters. We have now lost 7 Tigers to M36 tank destroyers in 1 month. All engagements occurred at ranges exceeding 1,200 meters. All penetrations occurred on frontal armor. Current doctrine is obsolete. The 9mm gun defeats Tiger armor at ranges where we cannot effectively engage. The intelligence was acknowledged and filed. Volkmann continued to insist that German armor superiority remained intact. Individual losses don't change the fundamental mathematics, he argued. German training and tactics will prevail. Detroit, Michigan, April 1944. At Chrysler Tank Arsenal, the assembly process achieved 90-second cycle times for major hull components. Every 90 seconds, another section of an M36 moved 1 station closer to completion. This single facility produced more complete tank destroyers monthly than Germany produced Tigers quarterly. The mathematics were crushing. American production exceeded German production by factors measuring in multiples of 10. Americans discarded 17 M36 turrets weekly due to minor defects that would have been acceptable in German production. These discarded turrets had microscopic flaws in welds, surface imperfections in armor castings, or bore measurements that deviated by thousandths of an inch from specifications. Germany would have fielded every one. America threw them away and built better ones. The casual waste of 1 American factory exceeded the careful production of an entire German industry. 17 turrets could have equipped 17 Tigers if Germany possessed the hulls, guns, and manufacturing capacity to use them. Workers threw away welding rod daily that German factories rationed by the stick. At Chrysler Tank Arsenal, 340 pounds of welding rod went into scrap bins weekly. German tank factories received allocations of 120 pounds monthly for all welding operations. Americans discarded more welding consumables in 8 days than Germany allocated for an entire month of tank production. The waste from maintaining quality standards exceeded the total supplies available to maintain German production. The cafeteria at Chrysler Tank Arsenal discarded 450 pounds of fresh vegetables daily. The 501st Heavy Panzer Battalion received 70 pounds of vegetables weekly when supply lines functioned properly. The cafeteria waste from 1 American factory exceeded the carefully rationed field supplies for an elite German combat unit. Americans ate better building tanks than German soldiers ate fighting wars. This single fact encapsulated the complete disparity in industrial capacity between the nations. Aluminum scrap from M36 production at Chrysler totaled 560 pounds daily. This represented discarded castings, damaged components, and manufacturing waste that occurred despite strict quality control. Germany's monthly aluminum allocation for all Tiger production totaled 3,400 pounds. The waste from 1 American factory over 6 days exceeded Germany's entire monthly allocation for its most valuable armored vehicles. Americans were so wealthy in resources, they could throw away what Germany desperately hoarded. Discarded ammunition from testing and quality control at American proving grounds exceeded German combat allocation for entire battalions. At Aberdeen Proving Ground, 2,400 rounds of 9mm ammunition were fired monthly for testing, evaluation, and quality control. The 501st Heavy Panzer Battalion received 1,200 rounds of 88mm ammunition monthly for combat operations. Americans fired more ammunition verifying quality than Germans fired destroying targets. The testing waste alone exceeded German combat capacity. Weber appeared in intelligence summaries that cataloged American excess. Enemy production capacity exceeds our entire industrial base by factors we cannot counter. Their waste alone exceeds our maximum production. The mathematical conclusion is inescapable. We cannot win a war of production against America. His reports accumulated in files that senior commanders refused to read. The mathematics were too uncomfortable to acknowledge. May 9, 1944, near Cisterna, Italy, 7:34 hours. 12 Tigers from the 501st Heavy Panzer Battalion faced 18 M36 tank destroyers in the largest engagement of the Italian campaign. The engagement lasted 14 minutes. At 7:34 hours, 6 M36s engaged the lead element of 4 Tigers at 1,500 yards. At 7:36 hours, all 4 Tigers were burning. Kill time per Tiger, 33 seconds average. At 7:38 hours, 8 more M36s engaged the second element of 5 Tigers. At 7:41 hours, 4 Tigers were destroyed, 1 withdrew with transmission damage. Kill time per Tiger, 37 seconds average. At 7:44 hours, the remaining 3 Tigers attempted to break contact. At 7:47 hours, 2 more Tigers were destroyed. The final Tiger escaped into dead ground, damaged and abandoned by its crew 1 kilometer from the engagement area. Total engagement duration, 14 minutes. Enemy Tigers destroyed, 11. American losses, 1 M36 damaged by an 88 round that failed to penetrate frontal armor, 0 crew casualties. Kill ratio, 11-0. The ammunition expended in this 14-minute engagement totaled 47 rounds of 90 ammunition. The 501st Heavy Panzer Battalion's monthly combat allocation was 1,200 rounds for all Tigers. The Americans had expended 4% of the German battalion's entire monthly supply, destroying 92% of the German force committed to this single engagement. The fuel consumed by 18 M36s maneuvering during this engagement totaled 340 gallons of gasoline. The 501st Heavy Panzer Battalion's weekly fuel allocation was 2,400 gallons for all vehicles. The Americans consumed more fuel in one engagement than the Germans received for 7 days of operations. This single fact demonstrated the complete disparity in logistics. Americans could afford to maneuver freely, while Germans rationed fuel to the point of immobility. At 7:41 hours and 17 seconds, Oberst Heinrich Volkmann was in the Tiger that took a 90 round through the turret front at 1,440 yards. The round penetrated, detonated ammunition storage, and killed all 5 crew members instantly. Elapsed time from engagement to death, 4 seconds from round impact to explosion. The mocker, the officer who had dismissed American industrial capacity and laughed at American ingenuity, died without time to understand what had killed him. His Tiger burned for 3 hours, ammunition cooking off periodically. The carefully trained crew, representing 14,000 man-hours of training and years of combat experience, died in 4 seconds. Hoffman, the witness, survived because his Tiger had been detailed to headquarters duty that morning. He watched the engagement from a rear observation post. "This wasn't combat," he wrote in his diary that night. "This was systematic annihilation. The Americans didn't maneuver or seek advantage. They simply appeared, fired, and destroyed. The engagement was decided before it began by industrial capacity we cannot match and weapons we cannot counter." June 1944, prisoner of war camp, Allied Forces, Italy. Weber, the warner, stood before American interrogators and spoke with the precision of a trained intelligence officer. "We were not defeated by better soldiers, but by better factories. American tank destroyer production in May 1944 totaled 980 units. German heavy tank production in May totaled 67 units. A single American factory produced more specialized armor in 1 month than our entire industry produced Tigers. You didn't just defeat us. You buried us under production capacity we couldn't comprehend until it was destroying us." He continued with mathematical precision. "Your 90 gun production exceeded our entire tank gun production by factors of 4. Your ammunition production exceeded ours by factors of 6. Your aluminum consumption exceeded our allocation by factors of 8. The mathematics were absolute. You outproduced us in every category, and each production advantage translated directly to battlefield superiority. We brought experienced crews and superior tactics." You brought infinite supplies and superior weapons. Production defeated experience. Weber had documented everything in his intelligence files, all captured intact when his headquarters was overrun. I warned them, he said quietly. Every report showed American production increasing exponentially while ours declined. Every engagement demonstrated that the 9mm gun made German heavy armor obsolete. The mathematics were clear 18 months before the final defeat. They refused to believe because accepting the truth meant accepting that we had already lost. Hoffman's testimony was more emotional but no less devastating. I saw a Tiger I destroyed at 1,400 yards by a weapon we were told couldn't penetrate our armor. I saw 4 Tigers destroyed in 2 minutes by M36s that appeared, fired, and vanished before we could return effective fire. The Americans didn't just outproduce us. They revolutionized warfare itself. They built enough weapons that losing individual vehicles meant nothing. They could lose 10 M36s and replace them in 3 days. We could lose 2 Tigers and take 6 weeks to replace them if we received replacements at all. Additional testimony from captured German officers confirmed the pattern. Major Ernst Schroeder, operations officer for the 504th Heavy Panzer Battalion. We brought swords to a gunfight. No worse, we brought swords to a naval bombardment. Their excess capacity exceeded our maximum effort. We rationed every shell, every liter of fuel, every gram of food. They fired ammunition for testing that exceeded our combat allocation. The war was decided in their factories, not on our battlefields. Hauptmann Klaus Mayer, Tiger Company commander, they could lose 6 M36s and replace them in 2 days from factory production. We could lose 1 Tiger and take 6 weeks to receive a replacement, if ever. The mathematics made defeat inevitable. Every engagement we won was meaningless because they simply built more tanks. Every engagement we lost was catastrophic because we couldn't replace losses. Oberst Friedrich Lang, battalion commander. The mathematics were inescapable. They produced 15 tank destroyers for every Tiger we produced. They produced 6 rounds of ammunition for every round we produced. They consumed 8 times more steel, 10 times more aluminum, and 20 times more fuel. Industrial capacity decided the war before the first shot was fired. American production statistics stated by captured German intelligence officers confirmed what Weber had documented. American 9mm gun production in 1944 totaled 14,960 units. German 88mm tank gun production in 1944 totaled 3,247 units. Single American facilities like Pressed Steel Car Company produced 6,120 M36 hulls in 1944. Entire German heavy tank production in 1944 totaled 1,347 Tigers across all variants and manufacturers. One American factory exceeded the entire German heavy tank industry by a factor of 4.5. The production comparisons extended to every category of military hardware. American aircraft production in 1944, 96,318 units. German aircraft production in 1944, 39,807 units. American artillery production, 257,390 units. German artillery production, 70,700 units. American truck production, 812,000 units. German truck production, 88,000 units. Every category showed the same pattern. American production exceeded German production by factors that made eventual defeat inevitable regardless of tactics, training, or individual weapon superiority. The lesson applied to every system beyond the 9mm gun. American production of M4 Sherman tanks in 1944 totaled 49,234 units. German production of all tank types in 1944 totaled 27,300 units. Americans built more of a single obsolescent tank model than Germany built of all types combined. When the M26 Pershing entered production in late 1944, it merely added another weapon system to an already overwhelming advantage. The 9mm gun on the M36 had proven the principle. American industrial capacity could design, produce, and field superior weapons at scales that made German resistance meaningless. April 1945, final German collapse. The 9mm gun proved that industrial democracy outperformed totalitarian command economics in every measurable category. Free workers outproduced slave labor. Democratic cooperation exceeded authoritarian diktat. Decentralized American capitalism outperformed centralized German planning. Industrial abundance buried ideological superiority under mathematical certainty. Every category of production favored America by margins that made German tactical superiority irrelevant. You cannot win wars when the enemy builds 5 weapons for every one you build, fires 6 rounds for every one you fire, and replaces losses at rates you cannot match. Free workers at Press Steel Car Company, Chrysler Tank Arsenal, and a dozen other facilities across America outproduced the entire German war economy. Margaret Sullivan, former seamstress, produced more turret rings than skilled German metalworkers. James Washington, former janitor, produced more gun tubes than the Krupp Works. Thomas Morrison, $1-a-year executive, revolutionized production systems that buried German industry under an avalanche of American armor. These workers, free to quit, free to change jobs, free to demand better wages, outperformed German workers laboring under totalitarian control by factors that decided the war. Democratic cooperation between government, industry, and labor produced results that authoritarian command economics could not match. American factories operated with union labor that negotiated wages and working conditions. German factories operated with slave labor that received starvation rations and brutal discipline. American workers produced more, produced better, and produced faster. The mathematics were absolute. Free people outperform slaves, democratic cooperation exceeds totalitarian compulsion, and industrial abundance defeats scarcity regardless of tactical advantages. The 9mm gun exemplified this broader truth. American engineers designed a weapon superior to German equivalents. American factories produced it at scales German industry couldn't approach. American logistics delivered it to battlefields in quantities that made German resistance futile. American industrial capacity transformed tactical innovation into strategic dominance through production volume that buried German advantages under mathematical certainty. You cannot defeat an enemy who outproduces you 15-1, regardless of how well you fight. March 12, 1944. Oberst Heinrich Volkmann had laughed at American 9mm tank destroyers and dismissed reports of their penetration capabilities. May 9, 1944. Volkmann died in a burning Tiger, destroyed by the weapon he had mocked, killed by the industrial capacity he had dismissed. His mockery became history's most expensive miscalculation. Measured in 1,347 destroyed Tigers, 8,492 dead crew members, and a lost war decided by factory production rather than battlefield courage. December 16, 1944. Ardennes Forest, Belgium, 5:30 hours. Germany launched its final offensive with 406 tanks and assault guns, including 72 Tiger IIs mounting the improved 88 MKW K-43L-71 gun. American forces defending the Ardennes included 147 M36 tank destroyers equipped with 9mm guns, plus 340 additional M36s held in reserve within 72 hours transport distance. The mathematics were already decided before the first shot. American reserves exceeded German total commitment by factors of 2.3 to 1, and those reserves could be replaced within 6 days from factory production. German losses could not be replaced at all. At 6:42 hours on December 17, Feldwebel Ernst Hoffmann, now commanding a Panther tank destroyer after surviving the Italian campaign, encountered his first M36 of the Ardennes offensive. The engagement occurred at 1,560 yards in heavy fog. At 6:42 hours and 34 seconds, the M36 fired. At 6:42 hours and 51 seconds, Hoffmann's Panther took a 9mm round through the superstructure. The round failed to fully penetrate but disabled the vehicle's traverse mechanism. Elapsed time from engagement to mission kill, 17 seconds. Kill time, 17 seconds. Hoffmann and his crew abandoned the vehicle and withdrew on foot. The witness survived again, but his war was over. At 7:18 hours, 4 Tiger IIs from the 501st Heavy Panzer Battalion engaged 6 M36s near Manhay. At 7:21 hours, 2 Tiger IIs were destroyed, one was immobilized and one withdrew. The M36s suffered 1 vehicle damaged with 0 crew casualties. Total engagement duration, 3 minutes. Kill ratio, 3-0 in American favor. The ammunition expended by 6 M36s totaled 9 rounds. The 501st Heavy Panzer Battalion's remaining ammunition allocation for the entire Ardennes offensive was 340 rounds for all vehicles. The Americans had expended 2.6% of the German battalion's total ammunition, destroying 75% of the German force committed to this engagement. At 14:23 hours, 8 more Tiger IIs encountered 12 M36s near Saint-Vith. At 14:29 hours, 5 Tiger IIs were destroyed, 2 were abandoned due to mechanical failure, and 1 escaped. American losses: 2 M36s damaged, both returned to service within 48 hours. Total engagement duration: 6 minutes. Kill ratio: 7-0 in American favor, or 5-0 counting only gun kills. The fuel consumed by 12 M36s maneuvering during this engagement totaled 440 gallons. The 501st Heavy Panzer Battalion's fuel allocation for the entire offensive was 12,000 gallons for all vehicles. The Americans consumed more fuel in one 6-minute engagement than the Germans allocated per vehicle for the entire operation. By December 25, 1944, the Ardennes offensive had destroyed 34 Tiger IIs in combat. American M36 losses totaled 19 destroyed, with 14 of those subsequently recovered and returned to service within 2 weeks. Net American losses: 5 M36s. Kill ratio: 6-8, 1 in American favor. American M36 production in December 1944 totaled 847 units. German Tiger II production in December totaled 41 units. The Americans replaced their losses and added 842 new vehicles to inventory in the same month that Germany produced 41 total heavy tanks. This single statistic explained the war's outcome more clearly than any tactical analysis. Detroit, Michigan, December 1944. At Chrysler Tank Arsenal, production achieved 73-second cycle times for major hull assembly. Every 73 seconds, another M36 hull moved one station closer to completion. This single facility produced 894 complete M36 tank destroyers in December 1944. Germany produced 41 Tiger IIs across all facilities. Chrysler Tank Arsenal alone produced 21.8 times more specialized tank destroyers than Germany produced heavy tanks. This single facility was producing more armor in 1 month than Germany produced in a quarter. American production statistics for the 9mm gun system in 1944 totaled 9,847 M36 tank destroyers, 3,240 M26 Pershing tanks mounting 9mm guns, 18,960 complete 9mm gun tubes, and 2,847,000 rounds of 9mm ammunition. German production for comparable systems in 1944 totaled 1,347 Tigers and Tiger IIs, 3,247 88mm tank guns, and 564,000 rounds of 88mm ammunition. America produced 7.3 vehicles with comparable or superior guns for every German heavy tank, 5.8 gun tubes for every German equivalent, and 5 rounds of ammunition for every German round. Every category favored America by factors exceeding 5-1. Americans discarded 23 M36 hulls in December due to defects that would have been acceptable in German production. These hulls had welds that failed X-ray inspection, armor castings with microscopic porosity, or dimensional variations exceeding tolerance by thousandths of an inch. Germany would have fielded every one with field modifications. America threw them away and built better ones. The casual waste of one American factory's quality control process exceeded the desperate production of an entire German industry. 23 discarded hulls represented more armor than Germany produced in 2 weeks. Workers threw away 670 pounds of welding consumables weekly at Chrysler Tank Arsenal. German tank factories received allocations of 180 pounds monthly for all welding operations. Americans discarded more welding materials maintaining quality standards in 9 days than Germany allocated for an entire month of tank production. The waste from quality control exceeded the supplies available for production. This single comparison demonstrated complete American material superiority. The cafeteria at Chrysler Tank Arsenal discarded 540 pounds of fresh meat daily in December 1944. The 501st Heavy Panzer Battalion received 80 pounds of meat weekly when supply lines functioned. which they rarely did during the Ardennes offensive. The cafeteria waste from one American factory exceeded the carefully rationed field supplies for an elite German combat unit by factors of 7. 1. Americans ate better building tanks than German soldiers ate fighting their final offensive. German soldiers advanced into Belgium on captured American rations because their own supplies had failed. Aluminum scrap from M36 production at Chrysler totaled 720 pounds daily in December. Germany's monthly aluminum allocation for all Tiger II production totaled 4,200 pounds. The waste from one American factory over 6 days exceeded Germany's entire monthly allocation for its most advanced heavy tank. Americans threw away more in less than a week than Germany carefully rationed for a month. The mathematics were crushing. American waste exceeded German maximum production. Discarded 90 ammunition from testing at Aberdeen Proving Ground in December totaled 3,400 rounds. The 501st Heavy Panzer Battalion entered the Ardennes offensive with 340 rounds total allocation. Americans fired more ammunition verifying quality in 1 month than an elite German battalion received for its final major offensive. The testing waste alone exceeded German combat capacity by a factor of 10. Americans could afford to shoot more proving their weapons worked than Germans could afford shooting at enemies. Hauptmann Karl Weber, the Warner, sat in Allied prisoner of war camps and wrote the intelligence summary his superiors had refused to read during the war. American M36 production in 1944 exceeded our entire heavy tank production by factor of 7.3 to 1. Their ammunition production exceeded ours by 5 to 1. Their aluminum consumption exceeded our allocation by 8.2 to 1. Single American facilities outproduced our entire industry. The mathematical conclusion was inescapable by mid-1944. We could not win a production war against America. Every additional month of combat simply increased the ratio of their advantage. We were not defeated by tactics or courage. We were defeated by industrial capacity we could not match and chose not to believe existed until it destroyed us. January 20, 1945, near Houffalize, Belgium, 11:34 hours. The final major engagement of the Ardennes campaign occurred when 6 Tiger IIs attempted to delay American advance. 18 M36s engaged at ranges from 1,400 to 1,800 yards. At 11:34 hours, the engagement began. At 11:39 hours, all 6 Tiger IIs were destroyed or abandoned. Total engagement duration, 5 minutes. Kill ratio, 6-0. American losses, 0. The ammunition expended totaled 14 rounds of 90 ammunition. The 501st Heavy Panzer Battalion had exhausted its ammunition allocation 3 days earlier. These 6 Tiger IIs had been operating with 17 rounds total across all vehicles, averaging 2.8 rounds per tank. They were destroyed by American forces that fired 14 rounds and had 840,000 rounds in reserve within the European theater. At 11:36 hours and 42 seconds, the lead Tiger II exploded when a 90 round penetrated the turret front at 1,620 yards. Elapsed time from engagement to destruction, 42 seconds. Kill time, 42 seconds. At 11:37 hours and 19 seconds, the second Tiger II burned. Kill time, 37 seconds. At 11:38 hours and 8 seconds, the third Tiger II took a round through the engine deck and stopped. Kill time, 46 seconds. At 11:38 hours and 54 seconds, the fourth Tiger II's crew bilayed out after a penetration destroyed the fighting compartment. Kill time, 46 seconds from first shot to crew evacuation. At 11:39 hours and 11 seconds, the fifth and sixth Tiger II's were destroyed within 17 seconds of each other. The fuel consumed by 18 M36s during this engagement totaled 520 gallons. The 6 Tiger IIs had entered combat with 360 gallons total across all vehicles, averaging 60 gallons per tank against their 190-gallon capacity. They were operating at 31% fuel capacity because Germany could not supply more. The Americans consumed more fuel in this single engagement than the Germans possessed across their entire committed force. This single fact explained German defeat more clearly than tactical analysis. America could afford to maneuver while Germany could barely afford to move. The 501st Heavy Panzer Battalion ceased to exist as a combat formation on January 20, 1945. Total battalion losses in the Ardennes offensive, 47 heavy tanks destroyed, 12 abandoned due to mechanical failure or fuel exhaustion, 3 captured intact. American M36 losses engaging this battalion: 11 destroyed, 6 damaged, and returned to service. The kill ratio across the entire offensive favored America 5-4-1. American production replaced these losses in 4 days. German losses were never replaced. March 1945, prisoner of war camp, Fort Meade, Maryland. Feldwebel Ernst Hoffmann, the witness who had survived from Anzio through the Ardennes, provided testimony that documented 3 years of German defeat. I first encountered the M36 in March 1944 near Anzio. It penetrated Tiger I frontal armor at 1,400 yards. We were told this was impossible. I saw it happen. I encountered M36s again in May 1944 at Cisterna. They destroyed 11 Tigers in 14 minutes. I encountered them finally in December 1944 in the Ardennes. They destroyed my Jag Panther in 17 seconds. The progression was mathematical. American weapons improved, American production increased, and German resistance became futile. He continued with devastating precision. We began the war with superior tanks, superior tactics, and superior training. We ended the war with superior nothing. The Americans didn't just outproduce us. They out-innovated us, outsupplied us, and outfought us with weapons systems we couldn't match and production capacity we couldn't comprehend. The 9mm gun made our heaviest armor obsolete. Their industrial capacity made our resistance meaningless. We were fighting arithmetic, and arithmetic always wins. Weber's final intelligence summary, written in captivity, provided the mathematical autopsy of German defeat. American 9mm gun production totaled 18,960 tubes in 1944. German 88 in production for all tank applications totaled 3,247 tubes. Americans produced 5.8 guns for every German gun. American M36 and M26 production totaled 13,087 vehicles in 1944. German Tiger and Tiger II production totaled 1,347 vehicles. Americans produced 9.7 heavy armored vehicles for every German equivalent. American 9mm ammunition production totaled 2,847,000 rounds in 1944. German 88 ammunition production totaled 564,000 rounds. Americans produced 5 rounds for every German round. He documented the progression month by month. In January 1944, America produced 340 M36s. Germany produced 67 Tigers, ratio 5.1 to 1. In June 1944, America produced 780 M36s. Germany produced 54 Tigers, ratio 14.4 to 1. In December 1944, America produced 847 M36s. Germany produced 41 Tigers, ratio 20.7 to 1. The trend was absolute. American production increased while German production declined. The mathematical conclusion was inescapable. Germany would lose because Germany could not build enough weapons to replace combat losses, while America could lose vehicles at catastrophic rates and replace them within days. The final statistics were comprehensive. American steel consumption for armored vehicle production in 1944, 4,250,000 tons. German steel consumption for armored vehicle production in 1944, 580,000 tons. Americans consumed 7.3 times more steel. American aluminum consumption for military production in 1944, 920,000 tons. German aluminum consumption in 1944, 112,000 tons. Americans consumed 8.2 times more aluminum. American copper consumption, 1,240,000 tons. German copper consumption, 140,000 tons. Americans consumed 8.9 times more copper. Every category showed the same pattern. American consumption exceeded German consumption by factors that made defeat inevitable. The production comparisons extended beyond armor. American aircraft production in 1944, 96,318 units. German aircraft production, 39,807 units. Ratio, 2.4 to 1. American artillery production, 257,390 units. German artillery, 70,700 units. Ratio, 3.6 to 1. American truck production, 812,000 units. German truck production, 88,000 units. Ratio, 9.2 to 1. American shipbuilding, 2,247 vessels. German shipbuilding, 340 vessels. Ratio, 6.6 to 1. Every category of military production favored America by factors that made German resistance a mathematical impossibility. The human cost was documented with equal precision. German armor crew casualties in combat against American forces in 1944-1945. 18,492 killed, 34,700 wounded. American armor crew casualties in the same period. 4,340 killed, 12,100 wounded. The casualty ratio favored America 3.1 to 1 despite America conducting offensive operations for most of this period. Superior weapons, superior production, and superior logistics translated directly into superior casualty exchange ratios. Americans died less often because Americans had better weapons built in greater quantities and supplied more effectively. May 8, 1945, Germany surrenders. The 9mm gun proved that industrial capacity decides modern wars more certainly than tactical skill, strategic genius, or ideological fervor. Germany began the war with superior tanks, superior tactics, and superior training. Germany ended the war defeated by nations that outproduced German industry by factors that made resistance futile regardless of battlefield skill. The mathematics were absolute. America produced more weapons, fired more ammunition, and replaced losses at rates Germany could not match. Democratic free market capitalism outperformed totalitarian command economics in every measurable category. Free workers outproduced slave labor because free workers had incentives to improve efficiency, innovate processes, and maintain quality standards that slave labor could not match. Margaret Sullivan, James Washington, Thomas Morrison, and thousands of other American workers produced more, produced better, and produced faster than German workers operating under totalitarian control. Union labor negotiating wages outperformed slave labor receiving starvation rations. Free people exceeded slaves in every metric that mattered. Democratic cooperation between government, industry, and labor produced results that authoritarian systems could not approach. American factories operated with negotiated labor agreements, competitive bidding, and profit incentives that drove efficiency improvements. German factories operated with compulsion, quotas, and punishment that destroyed innovation. The results were mathematical. American production exceeded German production by factors averaging 7, 1 across all categories. Democratic systems outperformed authoritarian systems completely. The 9mm gun exemplified this broader truth about industrial warfare. American engineers designed superior weapons. American factories produced them at scales that buried German advantages under mathematical certainty. American logistics delivered them to battlefields in quantities that made tactical skill irrelevant. You cannot win engagements when the enemy has 6 rounds for every one you fire. You cannot win campaigns when the enemy replaces losses in days that take you months. You cannot win wars when the enemy outproduces you 7, 1 across every category of military hardware. The lesson applies beyond 1945. Industrial capacity remains the foundation of military power in modern warfare. Nations that can outproduce opponents will win wars of attrition regardless of initial tactical advantages. Free market democracies possess economic systems that outperform command economies in peacetime and wartime. These aren't ideological claims, but mathematical facts demonstrated by production statistics, casualty ratios, and historical outcomes. The 9mm gun proved it. American industrial capacity confirmed it. German defeat verified it absolutely. Dismissing democratic nations as weak because they prefer peace invites catastrophic miscalculation. Underestimating free people's productive capacity when mobilized leads to defeat measured in destroyed armies and occupied territories. The mathematics remain constant. Industrial democracies possess latent capacity that exceeds authoritarian states' maximum efforts. That capacity, once mobilized, produces overwhelming force that tactical skill cannot counter. Germany learned this lesson at a cost of 5,533,000 military deaths and complete national defeat. The 9mm gun was merely one weapon system among thousands that demonstrated the same mathematical truth. You cannot defeat enemies who outproduce you 7, 1 regardless of how well you fight. Industrial capacity decides modern wars. Everything else is commentary.